Brexit talks are set to be dragged into the autumn despite a pledge by Boris Johnson to walk away if the European Union continues to stall. Michel Barnier, the EU's chief negotiator, last night warned of a «real moment of truth» in October when both sides are expected to reach an agreement on their future relationship. The Frenchman insisted a deal would have to be wrapped up in order to complete the ratification process at the European Council and Parliament before the end of the transition period. He said, "The real moment of truth will be in October. That is when we will have to be ready to put a draft deal to the European Parliament and to the European Council if we are to have it ratified by the end of the year." During a recent showdown with Ursula von der Leyen and Charles Michel, the Prime Minister urged them to intensify negotiations in order to strike a summer deal. The European Commission President and her counterpart at the European Council both agreed to a newly accelerated timetable of talks that begin next week. But European sources said during the private discussions, Mr. Johnson did not mention any potential deadlines. The Prime Minister has signalled publicly that he believes a deal could be done by the end of July. Cabinet Office Minister Michael Gove, however, has suggested October as a more realistic deadline for an agreement. Brussels has refused to set its own cut-off point, with EU negotiators telling their British counterparts they will work until a deal is mathematically impossible, a source said. Negotiations will resume next week when David Frost, the Prime Minister's chief trade negotiator with the bloc, is expected to meet Mr. Barnier in Brussels. The Frenchman last night vowed to work on clever compromises in order to broker a deal in the coming months. But he warned Mr. Johnson he would have to meet him halfway when trade talks resume next week. The Brussels bureaucrat told a Brussels-based think tank a future relationship pact is still in our reach but hid out at Downing Street for showing no willingness to find a middle ground. Mr. Barnier claimed he could walk away from trade negotiations if British negotiators refuse to soften their fisheries demands. He said, "If the UK sticks to its positions there will be no discussion on fisheries and no discussion on trade. We are open to find a compromise."